I want to start with a bit of a pet peeve of mine. We often hear people try to separate management from leadership as if they're two different jobs for two different people. But in our world, in small colleges and rural organizations, you don't have that luxury. Everyone has to manage and everyone has to lead. Management focuses on the how. How do we make the day to day work better, more efficient, and more reliable? Leadership is about vision, identifying and taking a group of people to a better place in the future. The only time I've personally experienced peer leadership without the management side is on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, where we talk about vision, administrative policy, and supervise the executive director, but don't touch the daily tasks. Your college board members may have the luxury of providing leadership, but not management at your college. But for your department, you need to provide both. You can be a good manager without a vision, but you can't be a great one. You still need to motivate, model the way, and inspire. The bridge between management and leadership results from strategic thinking. Strategic thinking and planning can get a bad rap, as many times a college creates a strategic plan to check an accreditation box, and the plan becomes a binder that stays on a shelf. But to be effective, you and your college needs a direction on where you're going to be successful in a world of change. When there isn't a strategic direction for the college, everyone does their own thing, and it's hard to justify where to put resources and attention. This was true at one multi-campus college where I worked, where the president toured a campus that was older. Based on that tour, they made the decision to invest $40 million into new facilities and programs that served small groups of students, many from outside our county. There wasn't a feasibility study or stakeholder feedback sessions on if the programs met the needs of the county or the community. There wasn't broad discussions internally and with county focus groups on the best direction for the college. The new buildings were amazing and the programs were effective, but at the same time, we had a severe shortage of seats for students looking to enroll in general education classes that could have met the need of our county and improved our enrollment and fiscal situation even more. To move forward, we have to understand the three different levels where our work lives. If we don't distinguish between them, we end up spending 100% of our energy on whatever is the loudest, rather than what's most important. First is the operational. This is your business as usual. This includes students learning in the classroom. In a registrar's office, it's processing transcripts. In financial aid, it's verifying FAFSAs. In faculty's office, it's teaching and grading. This is the work that occupies probably at least 90% of your time. It is urgent and important. If you don't do it, the urgently important, the college stops running. Because it's so loud, it's easy to feel like this is the only work that exists and can take all of your time. Second is just strategic. This is the big picture, the North Star. It's asking, where does this department need to be in 3 to 5 years to serve the next generation of students? In the community college world, this is important, but not urgent. No one's going to bang on your door at 8 a.m. demanding to see your 2028 vision. Because there's no deadline for dreaming, strategic thinking is usually the first thing we sacrifice on the altar of the daily grind. But without it, sometimes we're just running faster and faster in a circle. Third is the tactical. This is where most community college leaders struggle. The tactical level is the bridge. It's how we use project planning to turn those big strategic dreams into improved operational reality. Right now, we're working to improve our transcript sending and receiving from a place where 2 years ago, we printed and mailed every transcript request to be able to easily send them electronically. The dream is to have automated process set up to send and receive and potentially evaluate incoming transcripts. The challenge is there's so much work with the operational side on completing the requests that we've moved slower than I'd like. A better project plan would have probably helped us move forward on this better. Most of us were hired and maybe promoted because we were great at the operations, but very few of us were trained in strategic planning and tactical project management. We struggled to turn our visions into reality, not because we lacked the skills and experience with leadership, but because we lacked the tactical tools to build the bridge. This video will help by first looking at creating a situation analysis. Then we'll examine how to create a strategic plan around that, with the final section of the module providing some project planning training. The first part of creating the situation analysis is by looking at the hard data and conducting a resource audit. Strategic planning is simply getting from where you are today to where you want to be 5 years from now. But you can't plot a course if you don't have your current coordinates. We call this the situational analysis. It starts with the hard facts. You can't vision your way out of a budget deficit or a staffing shortage. It's fun to dream of the future, But if it isn't possible, it isn't worth the time. You need to look at first your numbers. What are your actual enrollment or service numbers? Are they trending up or have they plateaued? What are other key metrics that your department has? What do they show? Are you tracking workload for staff? Second, evaluate your ledger. What is your actual budget? Not just what's on paper, but what is discretionary, the money you actually have control over to start something new. What's important to the college and the resources? Do you have the opportunity to increase your budget in the future for initiatives, or is the college looking at budget cuts? Third, you need to evaluate the infrastructure, which includes the people and places. Do you have the right people in the right seats, or are you trying to run a 2026 department with the 2010 staffing model? What does your organizational chart look like, and how does it fit into the bigger college picture? Are you fighting with crumbling facilities or software that doesn't talk to the main ERP? If you don't document these realities first, your strategic plan will just be a wish list that sits on a shelf. Once you have the hard facts, it's time to bring in the team for a SWOT analysis. This is where I look in the mirror and as an activity you should do with your team after you provide them the data. The strengths and weaknesses at the top are internal categories. These are the things you have the power to change today. They're about your team's culture, your specific processes, and your current skills. If something appears in one of these categories, it is something you can control. I find that teams are usually good at sharing strengths. If you don't feel like you've built psychological safety, you need to find a way to gather weaknesses that people may not be comfortable sharing in the group. Consider an anonymous survey to give people the freedom to think about these categories before and provide their opinion without worrying about being judged. Opportunities and threats at the bottom of the chart are external. These are things happening to you from the outside world. Opportunities are positive external factors, while threats are the negative external factors. You can't control them. You can only respond to them. However, there's a trap here that I see teams fall into constantly with SWOT analysis. Teams will list a weakness like, we don't have enough training on our software, and then list an opportunity as, conduct more training. That's not an opportunity, that's a solution. For example, the demographic cliff, the fact that there are fewer high school graduates than there were 10 years ago, is a threat. You can't fix it, but by recognizing it as a threat, you can create a strategy around this. A new state grant for workforce development is an opportunity. It exists whether you take it or not. The strategy is how you grab it. Opportunities and threats are challenging for teams to think about as it's beyond the day-to-day work. And if a team isn't exploring resources outside of their day-to-day work, they're not going to be thinking about this in relating to their jobs. To help you and your team with the opportunities and threats section, I encourage you to use the PEST analysis. When we look at the horizon, we use the PEST analysis. This isn't just a corporate exercise. It's a way to ensure your department isn't blindsided by the external challenges you didn't see coming. Let's break down what these look like in our world. The first letter, P, stands for political, within the institution without. In our context, political isn't just about who's in the governor's mansion or White House, although we have seen significant changes in the Department of Education in 2025. It's about the power structures that control your resources. For example, is the Board of Trustees shifting focus from enrollment to completion? As we talk about College 3.0, it isn't just about access, but success after leaving your college. Is your department adapting to this? You should also consider the boss factor. What is your vice president or president's pet project? If your boss is obsessed with student belonging and your department plan is strictly about efficiency, you're going to struggle to get support. Your plan must align with the dreams of the people who determine where the resources go. If you can make your boss look good, it'll provide plenty of opportunities for you in the future. The E stands for economic, or the local pulse. Community colleges are counter-cyclical. When the economy is bad, our enrollment usually goes up because people need retraining. When the economy is booming, our enrollment often drops because people can get a $20 an hour job without a degree. For example, you may have to look as a local manufacturer or a hospital expanding your county. That's an economic shift. If they need technicians and your department handles career services or admissions, your 5-year plan better include a strategy for that specific industry. You may also need to consider long-term changes in the local economy and how that can impact the work you do. S stands for social, which includes demographics and mindsets. This is about the people in your community and the country, both who they are and what they believe. One example is about demographics. We mentioned the demographic cliff. If the number of 18-year-olds in your school district is dropping by 20% over a 10-year period, you can't plan for 10% growth in traditional freshman enrollment. That's not strategy. That's a fantasy. A second example is about mindset. There's growing social skepticism about the value of a four-year degree. More people are looking for short-term credentials or earn while you learn model. Does your department's future state reflect that shift in student attitude? The final letter in PEST is the T. T is for the technological, or your tools of the trade. This isn't just about buying new computers. It's about how technology is fundamentally changing the work your department does. For example, think about generative AI. If you run a tutoring center or a writing lab, AI isn't just a new tool. It can change the very nature of why students come to you. It can also include the software tools you use to communicate with students and how to effectively schedule and route students to the correct place and person to move ahead. What software and skills are needed to adapt to this? Also, you better be examining your industry trends. Look at what best in class colleges are doing. Are they using automated chatbots to handle registration, FAQs, so staff can focus on deep advising? If the industry standard is moving towards 24/7 digital access, your 5-year plan should address how you'll meet these expectations. One opportunity that helps with developing the past is looking at your professional landscape. I know it's incredibly tough to find the time when you are buried in emails, but getting involved in your state and national professional organization is essential. Whether it's ACRO at the Registrars Association or NAFSO Student Affairs Council, there are groups defining best practices. By being involved in your field beyond your campus, you'll see the trends before they arrive at your door. You also need to explore consistent sources of information outside the college to stay aware of the bigger picture. For me, it's listening to the Marketplace podcast every day to understand where the national economy is heading. For you, it might be a higher ed or other newsletter or a specific industry journal. Whatever it is, find a way to stay connected to the world and trends outside of our college walls. It's the difference between being reactive and being truly strategic. I want to leave you with one final thought. A lot of people feel like they don't have the natural talent to be a visionary. They think dreaming about the future is a special gift that only a few people like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk have. In my experience, that's not how it works at all. Most of our department's most significant advancements don't come from a single lightning bolt brainstorming session. They come from doing the boring work of looking through the situation analysis. When you spend time looking at your budget, listening to your team's frustration and a SWOT analysis, hearing what your boss thinks is important, and noticing the trends in your PEST scan, the answers for where you need to go start to emerge on their own. Strategy isn't about pulling a rabbit out of a hat. It's about connecting the dots that are already right in front of you. When you take a step back to see where you are and where the trends are pointing, the strategic vision often identifies itself. Even if you aren't currently in a formal college-wide strategic planning cycle, I want to challenge you to take the time to complete the worksheets with this module. It's incredibly insightful to see your department's reality on paper. It turns down the noise of the daily grind and turns up the volume on the opportunities you might be missing. Get your GPS coordinates down on these worksheets first. Once you have that solid foundation, I'll see you in the next video. We'll start defining your strategic direction for the next 3 to 5 years.